Hello, and welcome to my presentation. My name is Eric, and I will be discussing today autonomy and paternalism in healthcare decision making. It's important to note that healthcare decisions are always a delicate balance of ethical choices. The most debated of these ethical decisions are between individual rights and public health responsibilities. This paper and my speech is designed to delve into the complex landscapes that come with autonomy and paternalism. Moreover, in the context of if mandatory vaccinations and mental health interventions should fall under the ethical principles of autonomy or paternalism, and if we are to choose the latter, what are the ethical considerations we should be aware of? Understanding these concepts and understanding these considerations is crucial for healthcare professionals like nurses to use to navigate ethical considerations and make more informed decisions for both client and for self. So let's talk about autonomy, the cornerstone of all healthcare practices. So it's important to note that healthcare professionals prioritize and implement their clients' individual autonomy concerning their health. This includes the client's cultural values, religious values, norms and morals, and ethical values. Often these values are different from our own and can make treating certain clients more difficult than others because what we consider is morally ethically right might be completely different from what our clients believe is right. Sometimes ethical considerations arise when circumstances outweigh individual autonomy. However, where do we draw the line? When do we say that individual autonomy will cause more harm than implementing paternalism? So let's take a look at the plague of autonomy and the potential harm it causes. We as healthcare professionals will interact with people from all social classes. That is why in school we are taught at a very beginning transcultural nursing. These concepts states that our primary focus is care that is culturally sensitive and inclusive, meaning that if you have a client that does not accept blood products like those of a Jehovah's Witness, we know that these blood products have health benefits and might actually save their lives, but we have to respect their choices to not receive them, and we should consult with their religious leaders to even move forward with their procedures. Often in cases, we have some individuals that believe that modern and conventional medicine lack efficacy, leading them to seek knowledge on their own accord. Whilst it is important to be educated and perform independent research, it's also important to know what source is the most dependable and most medically correct. Sources like Facebook are not medically inclusive or inducing and lead low health literacy individuals to assert that they have superior knowledge over a trained healthcare professional. If we examine case studies when it comes to mandatory vaccinations, the National Library of Medicine states that had a high vaccination rate for seasonal influenza is 81.1% overall. Highest amongst physicians is 96% and nurses are 91%, but with nearly full compliance to 97% with vaccination required. Compliance with mandatory vaccinations so that benefits when it comes to public health safety. It showed that any hesitancy when it came to mandatory vaccination was persuadable. So how do we become persuaded? Well, that's paternalism. So let's understand what paternalism is. When exploring the pure definition of paternalism, it is coined as healthcare professionals making healthcare decisions for clients without their consent, believing it is in the client's best interest. Paternalism, according to Cordy RN, states that the purpose is doing good for and avoiding harm too. We cannot deny that autonomy without paternalism and vice versa is needed in healthcare. It's meant that we have to have a mindset that implements clients' autonomy, but also paternalism that will help the good of not only individual health, but public health. Just like autonomy, there are potential and ethical considerations and setbacks that must be considered. So in the cases of blood transfusions that would help our clients, when do professionals intervene and overpower individual autonomy? So let's look at mandatory vaccinations, the autonomy and paternalism behind it. Let's play the devil's advocate and let's argue in favor of mandatory vaccinations. There are a plethora of public health benefits that can arise from widespread vaccinations. Increased vaccination coverage not only provides herd immunity to the community, but also brings substantial benefit with some acceptable negative consequences. This concept of herd immunity and collective responsibility not only reduces the chance and risk of developing a strong and sometimes deadly illness, but also safeguards vulnerable populations do not have other defenses against illness. If there is so much benefit when it comes to mandatory vaccination, what is the potential drawback when it comes to it? Well, it all comes down to individual rights and autonomy for personal health. Countries like the United States place a strong emphasis on the land of the free and home of the brave, meaning that your forefathers fought for you to make choices in the ideologies that you believe in, even if it might harm or displace what might be morally and ethically right within your own society. So let's look at the interventions for mental health, the autonomy and paternalism behind those. It is important when it comes to mental health interventions, there is, like all healthcare, a balancing act needed when it comes to interventions for mental health crises. Autonomy is the same as any other form of intervention. It is the client's choice if they choose to have treatment or interventions performed on their behalf. Even with proven evidence-based practice, patient-centered care can draw setbacks that might need to be reviewed and overridden to protect the emotional, mental, and physical well-being of the client. The concept of a strong and weak paternalism plays a massive factor in deciding what interventions are needed where mental health is concerned. When Cambridge Psychiatry performed a case study on an individual with treatment-resistant schizophrenia, the psychiatrists implemented paternalism because they deemed Ben, the client in question, to have a weak paternalism because he lacked the capacity to make any choices about treatment, acceptance, or refusal. So the use of paternalism was to serve the greater good of an individual who was not able to make sound medical and mental health decisions on their own accord. This choice by healthcare teams was not made light and was at the utmost importance to keep as much autonomy for Ben while also performing interventions that were in his best interests. So healthcare is an intricate tapestry of ethical needs and a delicate balance of individual rights, autonomy, and paternalism for the greater good of the community. Embracing such complex and heavily debated concepts will allow us to make more comprehensive, ethical, and patient-centered care understandings. It's never been more clear that healthcare decisions are not only an individual right, but a public health responsibility. Autonomy and paternalism promote us to engage in critical conversation about the moral and ethical values that shape our society. These ethical considerations help pave the landscape for healthcare, leading to a more informed and compassionate approach to the community health. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.